Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. I'm Ruth Aguela. The National Ethics and Integrity Policy aimed at enhancing good and ethical conduct of the Nigerian citizenry has been unveiled by President Muhammadu Buhari, who performed the ceremony during the second National Summit on Diminishing Corruption in the Public Sector. The president described corruption and corruptive tendencies as abhorrent to the nation's core ethical values. State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports that the event was organized by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation in collaboration with the ICPC as part of Nigeria's Diamond Jubilee celebration. We'll bring you the details and the costs of the bulletin, but let's take you to labor scene. The organized labor has suspended its planned industrial action over hike in pump price and electricity tariff after an offer by some palliatives by the federal government to reduce the effect of the increases. The suspension of the strike was reached in Abuja after an exhaustive negotiation between the federal government and Labour, which led to the signing of a communique by both parties.
We all agree that all issues cannot be resolved at once, and this understanding is to have a plan on how those issues shall be finally resolved in the future, majorly on the issue of increase in PMS price and increase in electricity tariff. We have discussed the issue of the state of our refineries with timeline on how to achieve sustainable refining and therefore to divert our policy option from the issue of solely importing.
Federal government will make available to organized labor 133 numbers CNG LPG driven mass transit buses immediately and provide to the major cities across the country on a scale on the basis thereafter to all states and local government before December 2021.
Both parties agreed to set up a technical committee which will work for a duration of 2 weeks to examine the justifications for the new policy in view of the need for the validation of the basis for the new cost-reflective tariff as a result of the conflicting information from the fields, which appeared different from the data presented to justify the new policy by NERC. And in the meantime, the All Progressives Congress has commended the shelving of the nationwide strike by the Nigerian Labour Congress following the federal government's successful brokering of an agreement with the leadership of Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress on the increase of electricity tariff and the price of fuel. The party, in a statement by its Deputy National Publicity Secretary Yakini Nabena, says the gesture is a positive development in line with the proven pro-people stance of President Muhammadu Buhari-led APC administration, which has always put the welfare and interests of the masses first in policy decisions and implementations. The President Buhari's government has made solid commitments to rechannel saved national resources from the stopped fuel subsidy and deregulation of downstream petroleum sector to other critical sectors, such as infrastructure, health, education, the statement added. The APC called on all well-meaning Nigerians and stakeholders to cooperate, partner, and monitor the implementation of these commitments and agreements reached by the federal government and organized labor, and commended President Buhari's transmission of the much-awaited Petroleum Industry Bill 2020 to the National Assembly. Let's look at other issues. The federal government is embarking on a gas revolution to deepen access to auto gas as an alternative fuel. Now, this is part of efforts to reduce the impact of hike in petrol price due to a deregulation of the downstream. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association says they will key into government initiatives to help fast-track competitiveness that will, in the long run, crash prices and also create more employment with establishments of modular refineries.
Can sell it higher. Some other person will bring his product and sell it lower than your own. It happened about 3-4 months ago. whereby the market forces have forced the price to come down. 12 states has been earmarked for gas program, which is LPG and NCNG. And in some few months to come, in a month to come, already there's a test run in Benin past 2 to 3, 4 years. If you go to Benin now, you find that 40 to 50% of the vehicles there are on gas.
Secretary of IPMAN Danladi Paisali says Nigeria is not alone in looking inward for economic solutions as the world battles global recession from COVID-19. Let's take you to the tourism scene. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has called for synergy between key players in the tourism industry. He made a call at a virtual meeting by the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation in Abuja. Let's get the details from Oina Kaloka.
Domestic tourism reimagined was the theme of the virtual meeting, where the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, represented by the Permanent Secretary in the ministry, noted that federal government is interested in developing the sector, which plays an important role in the social, cultural and economic growth of the country.
Tourism is a low-hanging fruit for post-COVID-19 recovery, especially in Nigeria. So we must do something to revive this sector as soon as possible.
Experts and key players in the sector highlighted the impacts of developing domestic tourism and some challenges encountered.
I'd like to encourage stakeholders and to keep on churning out more user-generated content.
Director General NTDC Folorin Shokuka addressed the issue of infrastructure and security, challenging Nigerians to change their narratives about their country.
Nigeria is not the murder capital of the world, but if I bought any of you tickets and I said, hey, hop on a plane and go to those countries, you would go there. So what is this thing? We have an issue with security. We have an issue with transportation. It's not a problem. If you want to see places that have a problem, Google is your friend. Take a look. So we are the ones fueling this narrative about our security issue, our infrastructure issue.
The DG pointed at the need for more state governors to key into domestic tourism, stating that the future plan of the corporation is promoting domestic tourism and digital marketing. Oyina Kalo Oka, NTA News.
Right, let's talk education. The federal government says it will not relent in its determination to accord the desired premium on technical education in the country so that students acquire skills without relying on white-collar jobs. But instead, there will be employers of labor after completing their post-primary education. Minister of State Education Chukwuemeka Nwajuba said this while inspecting this year's National Business and Technical Examinations at Federal Technical College, Orozo. Accompanied by the Registrar and Chief Executive Officer of the examination body, Professor Ifoma Isugo, the minister expressed satisfaction with the arrangements put in place for the conduct of examinations, especially the COVID-19 safety protocols. All right, we'll bring you the details of this report in the course of the bulletin. Let's still look at the education scene. A holistic approach to leadership and life skills training for pupils, students, teachers and youths in and out of school has been launched by the Ministry of Education, Christian National Policy on Science and Technology Education. The policy gives overview and situation analysis of technology education in Nigeria, as well as policy environment. The policy further defines the roles of all concerned and ensures effective implementation to make Nigeria economic technology driven and sustained.
The absence of a roadmap for science and technical education has slowed down the pace of Nigeria's quest for technological advancement. It is my hope that stakeholders in the science and technology education subsector will adhere to the policy and implementation guidelines to ensure that the desired goals are achieved.
The policy seeks, among others, to address federal government's desire for youth to be skilled for global competitiveness, self-reliance, entrepreneurship, job creation, and not job seekers. All right, let's look at more pressing issues as Nigeria joins her counterparts across the globe to celebrate the International Day for Universal Access to Information 2020. Journalists in Nigeria are clamoring for enhanced policies to guarantee access to information in times of crisis. Elizabeth Omori examines the essence of the day to public safety.
International Day for Universal Access to Information was proclaimed on the 15th of October 2019 at the 74th UN General Assembly for the celebration to be held on the 28th of September annually. The UNESCO resolution creating the day was pushed by African civil society groups seeking greater information transparency. Statistics reveal that currently only 17 African Union member states have adopted the national right to information laws, and media practitioners say this is worrisome.
Directive from the Ministry of Justice, from the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, would suffice in this regard, directing ministries, governments, agencies, departments to go by the provisions of the Freedom of Information Act 2011.
Access to information, saving lives, building trust, and bringing hope is the theme for this year's celebration.
Access to public information is vital to growth and development, and also it brings about inclusion of citizens in decision making.
The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development recognizes the importance of public access to information to promote peace, freedom of expression, and good governance. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje of Kano State has reaffirmed his administration's readiness to espouse and make effective the Freedom of Information Act 2011 with a view to empowering the citizens to participate actively in governance. In a statement, the State Commissioner for Information, Malam Mohammed Garba, disclosed the governor's commitment that on the International Day for Universal Access to Information, which has been observed on the 20th September, he said with the signing onto the Open Government Partnership by the state government, which is a transparency initiative, access to information is one of the pillars of the OGP, and hence the Ganduje administration's commitment to it. Malam said this would also go side by side with the state government's anti-corruption crusade spearheaded by the Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission, which is fully provided with its requisite without any interference in order to operate in line with its federal sister agencies. He said while the state government has agreed to adopt and implement the FOI Act through the OGP process, its adoption is being subjected to wide consultation and will go through the legislative process and pass into law. The commissioner, who described the FOI Act as the bedrock and foundation of all human rights, urged relevant stakeholders in the state to participate actively in the drive towards operationalizing the Act, while describing the media as one of the most vibrant institutions in the management of information flow. He assured that government will not do anything to stifle press freedom. Malam Garba said that apart from the fact that it derives its powers to function directly from the nation's constitution, the Nigerian media has come a long way, charging it, however, to ensure a high level of responsible journalism in the collective interest of the nation. He also called for continuous capacity building for media practitioners so that they can play their important role more effectively. All right, let's get more information when we're talking universal information, access to universal information. This time around from Lagos, and we're joining Michael.
Thank you, Ruth. September 28 is marked annually as the International Day for Universal Access to Information. The day focuses on people's right to information, especially in times of crisis. On this basis, Imole Ayotokede takes a look at citizens' accessibility to information in Nigeria.
Information is sought as a resolution to uncertainty. It is that which answers the question of what an entity is. Adequate Adequate information is therefore essential for effective operations and decision-making at all levels of human interaction. This explains why the International Day for Universal Access to Information gives people the right to seek, receive, and impact knowledge. The Freedom of Information Act gives every Nigerian the right to request and access information at critical times. How informed is the average person about this power?
I'm well informed because I listen to the radio. From 6:30, my radio is on, and then from the radio I go to the TV.
The Nigerian media plays an effective role in dispensing information to the public through various means, including electronic, print, and the social media.
Now, under like 10, 20, 30 minutes, they get fast and accurate information being passed out to the general public.
Go to this Instagram, Twitter, and so on. The Nigerian media are doing their best. They are among the best in the world, if I can go to rank them.
The International Day for Universal Access to Information has also helped in the formulation of sustainable policies through and beyond the current pandemic, COVID-19. This is why the theme for this year's celebration is saving lives, building trust, and bringing hope. In Lagos, Imole Ayo Tukide, NTA News.
Let's now shift our attention to trade and investment. The formulation of policies that will engender development of intra-Africa trade and boost economic performance will be prioritized at commencement of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Secretary General AFCFTA Wamkele Mene emphasized this at an interactive session with stakeholders in Lagos. Bolade Salami has details.
As Nigeria concludes plans to ratify the process of becoming a member of the Africa Free Trade Agreement, AFCFTA, stakeholders are brainstorming on key areas that will promote intra-African trade and a seamless implementation of the trade agreement come January 1st, 2021.
What I do believe in is consultation. That's why I'm here. So that whatever platform we create, whatever it is that we do, is informed by what Africans want. It's not going to help for us as a secretariat designing, rolling out a platform that does not serve the interests of Africa.
To look at the formalizing of the informality of the informal trade. That's important, that's key. And my office is very, very passionate with this.
In order for the country to fully participate in the operations of the agreement, that will result in our ability to produce and trade competitively in goods and services, stakeholders have called for an improved infrastructure.
Out of 41.5 MSMEs in Nigeria as of December 2018, 99% belong to micro or registered. This is the situation. How do we navigate the issue of complication of negotiation, documentation with these people?
Being the largest economy in Africa, stakeholders have identified the huge investment the country will be contributing to the agreement. So far, 54 countries have signed the agreement, including Nigeria. In Lagos, Bolade Salami, NTA News.
Time now for a break, and when we return, Musa is standing by in Sokoto with reports from that axis.
Yes? That's the painful effect of what corruption costs you. But what does corruption cost us all? Watch Bad Guys on NTA Network, 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. every Wednesday from the Akin Fadeyi Foundation. Bad Guys. Who are the bad guys? Join us.
Hello and thanks for being there. The decision taken by the Indonesian government for making Sokoto State a strong point of interest has been described as a thing of pride. This came to the fore when Governor Aminu Wazir Tambuwal received on courtesy call the Indonesian ambassador to Nigeria, Dr. Usra Hendra. Alhat Abdullahi reports.
The visit by the Indonesian ambassador to Nigeria to Sokoto State is a follow-up to discussions on mutual cooperations between the Indonesian government and the seat of the Caliphate. Some of the areas of concern include replication of the Indonesian Artificial Insemination Center and understanding the adoption of the Indonesian integrated modern learning through faith-based school system to transform the Al-Majli system of education. Other areas include its system of endowment, serving as an alternative source of funding for social welfare and poverty reduction, utilization of the CAD funds to address inequality gap, healthcare, tourism, as well as areas of trade and commerce. Another bond between the two authorities is the agreement by the Indonesian government to offer scholarship to Sokoto indigents to study expertise on security at the country's defense university.
Both parties met and discussed several issues on the technical assistance, visit of expertise and capacity building in the process for the establishment of similar examination center in Sokoto.
So we are going to take this model so that our own in Sokoto State will be different from where we say we are banning Al-Majri. We are not banning, we are rebranding and remodeling Al-Majri in Sokoto State.
In Sokoto, Dalat Abdullahi, NTA News.
Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State has warned communities in the state against creating militia groups that take laws into their hands, urging different background in the state to learn from the past in order to draw a roadmap for the future. The governor stated this during a meeting to x-ray security challenges in Zulu Emirate and matters arising from flood in the state. Osman Abdullahi Shehu reports.
The meeting brought together stakeholders in the state who rub minds to address the state's present situation of flood devastation and the insecurity challenge caused by NSAK, a self-help security group emanated in Zulu Emirate. Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, who vowed to sustain the state's position in the national food production and most peaceful state in the country, stressed that despite using amiable means to resolve the NSAK security problem in Zulu Emirate, the group are not cooperating.
Take firm action, but I just felt our stakeholders in our state need to be aware, so that we need to encourage people to please, as frustrated as they may be by any challenge, not to take the law into their arm and not to create militia.
Governor Bagudu similarly decried how this year's flood and rainfall surpasses the earlier meteorological agency's prediction, saying that government at all levels and philanthropists are determined to assist the victims, announcing that arrangements are in top gear to support farmers in massive dry season farming to recoup their losses. In their separate remarks, the Chief Judge of the state, Justice Suleiman Muhammad Amburusa, and the Emir of Argungu, Alhaji Samaila Muhammadu Mera, expressed sympathy to the flood victims, urging the people of Zulu Emirate to adhere to the spirit of peaceful coexistence for the development of the state. The meeting availed stakeholders the opportunity to express their minds. In Birnin Kebbi, Usman Abdullahi Shehu, NTA News.
Well, that's it from here. It's back to you, Ruth.
Thank you very much, Musa. A dog is said to be man's best friend, which perhaps explains why it is one of the most common domestic animals. Well, this man's best friend, however, carries a certain disease that leads to death whenever it is contracted, especially by children below 15 years. Uche tells us about this disease that the world has even set aside a day to mark it annually.
Many people. Michael Ogun loves and owns a dog. What separates him from many others, however, is the fact that he knows how to care for his dog.
Every year we get our dog immunized, vaccinated basically. They have the anti-rabies vaccination that you are supposed to vaccinate your dog every year against. And then every 6 months we try and fumigate our compound, fumigate the dog house, and to help kill or prevent a lot of things that might affect the dog and us.
Numerous dogs trained on the streets portend a danger of being carriers of rabies, a highly infectious disease transmitted mostly through dog bites.
So any human that is bitten by an infected dog, invariably, if that fellow is not given post-exposure prophylactic of the rabies vaccine, of the human anti-rabies vaccine, the chances are high that the human will come down with it, and it's fatal.
But also they are highly sensitive to heat. So if you have warm water with soap and then you scrub that area where you got that bite by either a rabid dog or non-rabid dog, it is always very effective in controlling.
Data from the Nigeria Center for Neglected Tropical Diseases shows that 55,000 people die from rabies yearly. The theme of 2020 edition draws attention to the importance of dog vaccination and need for concerted efforts to meet the 2030 target of eliminating human deaths from rabies. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
And to speak further on that, in the studio with me is Dr. Amina Indanusa, a veterinary surgeon. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now, studies have shown that zoonotic-related diseases transmitted in recent times are on the increase. Exactly. And we have seen diseases related traceable to animals in recent times and even in the past. How would you say animal health can be improved, especially for the sake of humans?
Well, for me, I always advise having the One Health approach. That's one way to bridge the gap between the animal health sector and the human health sector. Why do we do this? Why do we advise this? Like you said earlier on, a lot of diseases coming now are from the animal origin. Yes. So it's quite important, as a matter of fact, very important for us to have the collaboration between the human health sector and the animal health sector. The zoonotic diseases are on the rise, and the sooner we are able to tackle this in the animal sector, the better for the human population.
Now, let's paint a scenario. In case there is a dog bite, what is the first aid treatment that should be administered to the victim?
I would say this very clearly. A lot of people do not know this. Once you receive a dog bite, the first thing you should do is just simply wash it with soap and water.
Seriously?
Yes. Just wash it with soap and water. Why are you doing that? You're trying, in case that dog is infected, you're trying to reduce the viral load on the surface. The lesser the amount of virus that is getting into the system, the better for you. So the first thing to do, wash with soap and water.
What if there's no water around? What's other option?
If you can get sanitizers, that would help. That would go a long way to help. And then just vigorously use the sanitizer to scrub as much as possible, get out that viral load from the surface.
Out of curiosity, can rabies be controlled in the society?
Yes. Okay. Rabies is one disease that is not curable, I must say, but 100% preventable. How? Vaccination. It has been shown to, rabies comes from, what's it called? Dogs and other animals, domestic animals, even animals from the wild. Okay. But most times humans don't come in contact with the animals in the wild, which helps us. But what we come in contact with are our household pets, dogs and cats. The best way to do that is just to vaccinate them. Once you vaccinate them, the human population is safe.
Okay, so let's imagine, a lot of people keep dogs as pets.
Yeah.
How would you know that your dog has rabies?
Rabies, signs for rabies are quite typical.
Okay.
Yes, they start to exhibit what we call the maniac symptoms, like a mad dog disease. It's also called mad dog disease. This naturally loving pet that comes close to you when you come into the house, starts to hide away from you, starts to bite at objects.
Okay.
Ideally, you also see them, there's something called hydrophobia. They're scared of water. You put a bowl of water that they would normally go and drink, they run away. So these are some of the signs that you see. And then another obvious sign is salivation. They start to bark uncontrollably and they have saliva dripping from their mouth. So those are the typical signs you see in rabies.
So how often should they be vaccinated?
We usually advise the first shot to be given in 3 months of age. Okay. After that, it becomes yearly.
Okay, so on a lighter note, what does it feel like being a vet surgeon in one word?
The exhilarating.
Okay, thank you very much,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Amina Indanusa. Thank you for coming on the news. And like they say, dogs are very loyal animals. No better way to show them loyalty than to improve their health.
Exactly.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's look at other issues. The National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons has flagged off distribution of relief materials to 1,000 internally displaced persons in Yobe State. The Commission has also handed over assorted drugs and other medical supplies to the state's Primary Healthcare Management Board to enhance its operations in providing effective healthcare service to communities hosting IDPs in the state. Yunusa Suleiman reports.
Consumables to the Yobe State Primary Healthcare Management Board, according to the representative of the Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, was in response to the health needs of those IDPs who are still living in Fika local government area of the state.
Nigeria is facing challenging times and Yobe State is not left behind. So the fact that more drugs are available, it will help health delivery. The healthcare workers can go out and do outreaches.
These drugs and medical consumables we are seeing will distribute equitably and judicially for the purpose intended.
In line with its mandate of providing effective and durable solutions to the flights of all persons of concern, the Commission has also commenced the distribution of food and other household materials targeting 1,000 IDPs as well as other heads of vulnerable households across various host communities in the state.
Today that we realize that Buhari is for the masses. It has shown a great feeling he has towards the masses of his country.
Government has not forgotten about them. It seems as if we have, but we have not. It's the dire financial situation of the whole country, so we're not doing as much as we hope to. But the federal government is always thinking about displaced persons, and we'd also like to plead with them to not sell these items, because sometimes we have cases of IDPs selling the food items given to them. It is for their own use.
This is one of the driving policies of His Excellency Horome Malabuni to tap resources from relevant MDAs and agencies across the state and reach out to our vulnerable population.
With this, it is believed that IDPs still living in host communities have cause to smile.
5 million persons living with disabilities are expected to benefit from the Agriculture Empowerment Scheme launched by the federal government in its bid to take 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. The skills acquisition and capacity building training session was flagged off in Abuja, where Momso Damian Dati captured the scene.
The visually impaired, hearing and speaking impaired, as well as the physically challenged from the nooks and crannies of Abuja, trooping to the Federal Secretariat in the FCT. It's the official launch of the federal government's skill acquisition and capacity building training on food security and financial inclusion, especially for disabled civil servants and others who are interested.
This is the best time for somebody to even train fowl. So if you buy broiler now, in the next 3 months, you can sell it for December and Christmas period. I think that one is really another gate.
I cultivate cassava in my small way, and also I cultivate cocoyam, and also vegetable. This is a great opportunity and privilege. After being trained, I'll be empowered to do more.
Do produce white soya, that's soya beans, and actually I have a poultry farm. And inshallah, we are going to make it. We are going to show that there is ability in disability.
Then comes the host, looking all normal, with eyes perfect and clear, yet blind. He is Dr. Samuel Ankili, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Disability Matters, the vision driver.
For maximum success, government intends to use private organizations or NGOs to be able to drive home some of our visions. Actually, the Federal Civil Service Cooperative Society, identifying qualified members of the society with disabilities, and changing the right orientation so that they could produce, and of course, having the capacity to access these loans and these monies, which is managed by the Police Microfinance Bank, and we as government release it through the central bank, just like in any other project. With everybody's hand on deck, we'll be able to release enough food that will feed our people.
It's not a cooperative of one ministry. It's all the federal civil servants with disability throughout the country. The federal government has given civil servants opportunity to go into farming. The program is for all persons living with disability throughout the federation as far as you are qualified.
The training is expected to trickle down to all the 36 states of the Federation. Momso Damien Dati, NTA News.
An effort to expand learning opportunities for children at internally displaced persons camp in Durumi, Abuja, in the face of COVID-19 has gone a step further. The kids now have a solar-powered learning hub with complements of computers and Android teachings and learning application. Kelvin Ehunwahe reports.
Access to education is one of the major challenges facing children at IDP camps scattered around the country. The situation is worsened by the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, but a group of young Nigerians under the auspices of Astronomers Without Borders are determined to ensure that these children are not left behind as stakeholders explore options to keep learning going as the pandemic lasts. Their latest efforts have resulted in the establishment of a solar-powered learning ICT hub for these children, and the happiness of their parents knew no bounds.
AWB, they are here with us for about a year plus now. So they are our ambassadors. Because as we can see, if you look around the children, they are very happy because creating way for them to learn computer, to learn so many things to do at home, especially this COVID-19 season.
The group also provided COVID-19 prevention facilities for the camp and urged the displaced persons to maintain them.
The idea is to motivate them, to inspire them to aspire to STEM careers in the nearest future.
This gesture is to be replicated at similar camps in the FCT. In Abuja, Kelvin Ehunwahe, NTA News.
All right, let's take you back to the report we called earlier at the start of the bulletin that the National Ethics and Integrity Policy that was unveiled by President Muhammadu Buhari here in Abuja, organized by the SGF in collaboration with ICPC to commemorate the Diamond Jubilee. I beg your pardon. Let's see that.
The National Ethics and Integrity Policy, already approved by the Federal Executive Council, is part of government's aspiration towards rediscovering Nigeria's cherished traditional ethical values, amongst them honesty, integrity, hard work, truth and justice, unity, faith, as well as consideration for one another, irrespective of status or background.
As I have often reminded Nigerians, if we do not kill corruption, corruption will kill Nigeria.
For the government to deliver the expectations of the governed, President Muhammadu Buhari said the society must be transformed from one in which impunity in the management of national resources is the norm to one in which culture of accountability and transparency prevails.
We need to deploy resources to address our common needs rather than the greed of careless few. We need a corruption-free public sector to achieve this transformation. We need a judicial system that dispenses justice without undue delay and technicality. And finally, we need ethical reorientation of the people to achieve this goal. When we work together against corruption, we can defeat it.
The president said it is only when the three arms and levels of government work together that the country will be effectively served and the positive impact of the service delivery reach all and sundry.
We must all join hands together to fight corruption and return to our traditional values of honesty and integrity. I urge all Nigerians participating in this summit to come up with recommendations on ways to further enforce our laws and prevent corruption in the public sector in Nigeria.
Together Against Corruption is the theme of the summit, and this was the central focus of the goodwill messages delivered by invited guests.
As the theme of the summit suggests, we need to work together as Nigerians, as arms and institutions of government to roll back corruption in our country. I believe that we can achieve our targets with a united front.
The judiciary is ever poised to deploy every relevant legal tool at its disposal to whittle down the strength of corruption in our mindset.
I today witnessed firsthand the commitment of the government of Nigeria under President Muhammadu Buhari to fight corruption. The level of transparency I've had today here is unequivocal. The United Nations will remain an important partner in Nigeria's commitment to fight corruption and achieve sustainable development goals.
During the event, Hamza Adamu Buwai of the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment and CSP Francis Osage Ehobo of the Nigeria Police received Public Service Integrity Awards, while 3 youngsters, Opeyemi Peter Adeboye, Chikeze Favor, and Matilda Daniels, who won anti-corruption music and essay competitions, got recognized and rewarded.
COVID-19 kills, but corruption kills even more. ICPC alone cannot fight corruption. We all must be involved.
Your Excellency, sir, your unequivocal stand against corruption is a morale booster to the fight against corruption. We assure you, sir, that as your foot soldiers, we will not allow corruption to kill Nigeria.
The ICPC chairman said the commission recovered billions of naira and substantial assets from those who abused trust, including 2.6 billion naira meant for the school feeding program during the coronavirus lockdown. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
On the electoral scene, the Independent National Electoral Commission prepares to deploy full technology in the conduct of the elections in the country. Mia Ogidi reports.
The Edo governorship election is over, and INEC is the smiling child. Almost everyone says thank you and thank you for a job well done.
I've not had anything report at all about the police, and that's a huge difference. I want to commend INEC for making sure that the people voted in the various polling units.
The thank yous on INEC were made easy by improvement in technology, especially on the uploading of results from polling units, not forgetting the voter register, smart card reader, and voters' cards that are all automated. And INEC does not want to box below our weight anymore. So, electronic voting machines are to be deployed, and 40 manufacturers are already showcasing their products before INEC.
For some time now, the Commission has been working on the deployment of technology in voting during elections to replace the current manual system, which is tedious and requires enormous logistics to deliver huge quantities of printed materials and a large number of ad hoc staff to administer the process.
It is an exciting adventure of determination and commitment by an ambitious umpire trying to satisfy a demanding client.
Let me reassure each and every Nigerian that the Commission is committed to expediting the process leading to the deployment of electronic voting machines in elections in earnest.
Great journey embarked upon by INEC, but there is a checkpoint on the way, because the Electoral Act of 2010 as amended states in Section 52, subsection 2 that the use of electronic voting machine for the time being is prohibited. So, amendment is key to the success of this project by INEC. Mia Ogidi, NTA News.
All right, let's head to Benin to join Obehi. She's going to give us the next set of reports. Obehi?
Hello, Ruth. Thank you very much for joining us in Benin.
The Christian Association of Nigeria Edo State Chapter has organized an interdenominational service to thank God for Governor Godwin Obaseki's victory at the poll and for the peaceful conduct of the election. Elizabeth Amoko reports that the event, which held at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin, had in attendance the governor, his deputy Philip Shaibu, and other top government functionaries.
The Thanksgiving service had leaders and members of all the three arms of government in the state, party leaders, church leaders, and people of Edo State in attendance. Recalling how God saw the people of the state through the electionary period, Governor Obaseki thanked God for the peace, progress, and projects executed in the state through his administration and assured the people of the state of better days ahead.
What has happened is by our own might at all. That's the farthest thing from the truth. It was as a result of God's direction.
The Christian leaders in their messages told the governor-elect and his deputy to ensure they put God first in all they do.
Shun every form of acrimony and distraction by setting your eyes as a flint.
The governor, members of his cabinet, and other functionaries danced to the altar with their seats. There were special prayers for the governor and members of his cabinet ahead of a new administration.
We build a wall of defense around you.
In Benin, Elizabeth Amoko, NTA News.
Residents of Edo State are optimistic that Nigeria will experience sustainable socio-economic development when both the leaders and the led put the interest of the country first. These were their view as the country marks 60 years of independence. Goodluck Inaini reports.
On the 1st of October, Nigeria will be 60 years old as an independent nation. Residents of Edo State say although the country is bedeviled by a catalogue of challenges, some progress have been made.
By the shared grace of God, we have remained as a people. And because we have remained as a people, that is enough for us to be grateful to. Two, we are not at war.
We have seen a paradigm shift from the way leaders conducted affairs in the past to what we now have. And we have also experienced